Sorry, but Star Trek. Voyager would have been better without this beloved character. Star Trek. Voyager boldly went where no Trek series had gone before, 70,000 light-years away from the Alpha Quadrant, trapped in the uncharted Delta Quadrant, with a crew of Starfleet officers and Maquis rebels forced to coexist aboard a single ship. It was a daring premise with immense narrative potential. But despite its rich setting and an iconic Captain and Janeway, Voyager often struggled to fully live up to that promise. And one major reason may be a character fans have grown to love dearly, the Doctor. Yes, the emergency medical hologram, played with charm and gravitas by Robert Picardo, became a fan favorite and one of Voyager's most developed characters. His dry wit, moral quandaries, and journey towards sentience are undeniable highlights. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more the show focused on the Doctor, the more it drifted away from its original premise, squandered other characters, and undermined the grittier survivalist tone it initially promised. Let's dissect the case against the Doctor, not because he wasn't well acted or well written, but because Voyager, as a whole, might have soared higher without him. The premise was survival, not sentience. From the outset, Voyager was pitched as Star Trek meets Gilligan's Island, a stranded starship far from home, low on resources, trying to survive in hostile territory. This scenario set the stage for a darker, more serialized story, emphasizing leadership under pressure, ethical compromise, and human resilience. But the Doctor's arc often pulled the narrative in a completely different direction. Instead of focusing on the ship's dire circumstances, episodes began revolving around holographic rights, digital identity, and philosophical explorations of artificial life. Those are worthy topics. Star Trek is built on them, but they clashed with Voyager's survivalist DNA. Compare that with Deep Space Nine, which embraced moral complexity and serialized storytelling. In contrast, Voyager, with the Doctor front and center, often sidestepped its gritty potential in favor of high-concept, standalone episodes centered around holographic ethics. It wasn't that these episodes were bad, it's that they belonged in a different show. Overshadowing an underserved ensemble, Voyager had a massive cast of potential rich characters. B'Elanna Torres, a half-Klingon engineer torn between her Maquis fire and Starfleet duty. Chakotay, a former rebel with Native American spiritual roots. Tuvok, a Vulcan among chaos. And of course, Captain Janeway, carrying the burden of 2 crews and 1 impossible mission. But the Doctor gradually absorbed more and more screen time, often at the expense of everyone else. Episodes like Latent Image, The Doctor's Wife, and Lifeline were excellent explorations of his psyche, but how many meaningful arcs did Chakotay get after Season 3? Or Harry Kim? Or Neelix, who went from being Voyager's morale officer to a narrative afterthought? Even 7 of 9, another fan favorite and one of the few characters who could go toe-to-toe with the Doctor in philosophical discussions, felt more like a narrative necessity to match the Doctor's screen time than a choice rooted in original character development. By elevating the Doctor's evolution into a kind of Data 2.0, the writers neglected the organic growth of other characters who should have borne the weight of Voyager's premise. In a show about human perseverance, too many of the most emotionally significant episodes ended up focused on a hologram. He became too powerful to be believable. One of the most interesting aspects of the Doctor early on was his limitation. He was confined to sickbay and the holodeck. He couldn't touch objects outside of medical tools. He was a program bound by Starfleet protocols and technological restrictions. That's what made his struggle for personhood compelling. Then came the mobile emitter. With the arrival of 29th century tech from the episode Future's End, the Doctor was suddenly granted near limitless freedom. He could leave sickbay, go on away missions, physically interact with the world, and even begin having romantic relationships. This completely shifted the character's role and power level. By Season 6, the Doctor wasn't just the ship's physician, he was also an opera singer, a novelist, a parent, and a holographic rights activist. What started as a character defined by limitations became a sort of digital Superman. That's fine for comic books, but in a ship where people are starving for supplies and losing crew members in the void, it creates a tonal dissonance. Meanwhile, real human characters, trapped by the very physical limitations the Doctor had transcended, were sidelined or stagnated. The tech fix syndrome, one of the most frustrating patterns in Voyager, was its tendency to hit the reset button at the end of episodes. And the Doctor often played a key role in this. In countless situations, when things seemed bleak or unsolvable, the Doctor would whip up a miracle solution using Technobabble, sometimes via his expanding knowledge or absurdly adaptable program. He could delete traumatic memories, clone organs, rewrite neural pathways, create photonic fantasies. And then it was on to the next adventure. This created a narrative crutch. Instead of earning victories through character grit or hard ethical choices, the crew could often rely on the Doctor pulling a hyper-evolved medical rabbit out of a digital hat. This kind of storytelling dulled Voyager's tension and undermined its stakes. If the Doctor could solve a Klingon genetic crisis in one episode and invent a cure for an alien plague in another, why should we worry about long-term damage, trauma, or death? What Voyager could have been without him? Imagine a version of Voyager where the Doctor was permanently deactivated in the pilot, forcing B'Elanna Torres to take over as chief medic while also running engineering. Imagine the tension of improvising surgery in a damaged ship without a skilled doctor, or the ethical gray areas of relying on alien medicine with unpredictable consequences. Suddenly, every injury matters. Every illness is a crisis. And every loss of life, morale, or sanity has weight. The characters are forced to evolve, not just react. Torres might have grown more central. Neelix's desire to help could have become more relevant. Kim could have taken more initiative. Janeway's decisions would carry even more burden. In that show, Voyager would truly be about humans and a few aliens facing isolation, desperation, and survival, not philosophical debates about a self-aware algorithm's opera career. The Doctor's arc belonged elsewhere. None of this is to say the Doctor's arc didn't have merit. In fact, much of it was excellent science fiction. Episodes like Author, and Flesh and Blood grappled with profound questions. What is personhood? Can a hologram be free? Should a program have rights? These are classic Star Trek questions. But they were questions better suited for a series like The Next Generation, where the luxury of a well-resourced Federation ship allowed for philosophical exploration. Or even Picard, which deals directly with synthetic life and the legacy of data. On Voyager, these questions felt like a narrative escape hatch from the harsh reality of being lost. They disrupted the show's tone and diverted attention from what made the premise unique. In the end, Voyager was two shows. That's perhaps the most fitting summary. Star Trek, Voyager became two shows awkwardly merged together. One was a gripping tale of survival in a hostile galaxy, led by a brilliant Fema,